And Tim Cox will be joining us from Washington, D.C. today via Skype technology. And at this time, I'd like to introduce to you our first speaker, Marita Noon. Marita will talk with us today and provide a powerful voice on America's energy situation. She has served as Executive Director of CARE, Citizens Alliance for Responsible Energy, since January 2007. She is focused almost entirely on energy, oil, gas, nuclear, coal, wind, and solar. Since wind and solar are the darlings of the energy world, Marita has pushed CARE onto a national platform. I interviewed Marita some weeks back on our program, and she's a phenomenal speaker. Many of you know Marita. And since joining CARE, Marita has come to see that everything we hold dear in America is under attack, and energy is at the center of that battle. She's had articles and op-eds published in newspapers throughout New Mexico, where CARE is based, and nationally in industry publications and on internet commentary sites. Marita Noon will christen the Save America Convention as our very first platform speaker. Put on your seatbelts, please welcome Marita Noon.
To this area. I see. Okay, the majority of you. I really respect your coming today because there are many things going on in this town today. As I went into the lobby this morning from my hotel room, they had a sign up to go on a bicycle race today. Did any of you have a big quandary of should you go on the bicycle race or should you come to the city? If my husband knew it was here, he would have wanted to come with me. Instead, he's in a bike race in San Diego tomorrow. Now, I also noticed last night when I came into the hotel, when I arrived late at night as I got here, there was a group of people arriving that I thought, I don't think they're going to the same thing that I'm going to. And I then discovered that they are going to Rock Jam. And they were the band for Alice Cooper that I was in the lounge with last night having some dinner. So did any of you, were you really torn? Should you come here or should you go to Rock Jam to go see Alice Cooper? None of you were tempted by that? Okay, well that's good to know because for myself and all the other speakers, I don't want to fear that if we're not good enough, you're going to pack up and go to Rock Jam. It's really, you're struggling whether you should be here or whether you should be there. Now, we're here on August 28th, which is 8/28. And I don't know about you, but when I was first invited to come to this conference, and that was the date that I wrote down in the calendar, I immediately thought of a Bible verse. Romans 8:28. Now, how many of you know that Bible verse? We can see if we're kind of among a few friends here. But the gist of that Bible verse says that for those of you that says that all things work together for good, to those of you who know God and are called according to His purpose. And what we are, as we've seen in these videos, we in America are at what I like to think of as a tipping point. We're at a place where people are waking up. And those of you in this room represent that. You represent those people who are waking up. Instead of going on a bicycle race today, and instead of going to Rock Jam today, you decided to do something that you knew would make a difference. That you knew would make a difference in your life, and most importantly today, in the future of our country. And I believe that if we continue on this path, that these things that we have been through, the rough last 18 months that I believe most of us in this room agree that America has had, that those things work together for good. Because those things have brought about an awakening, a new spirit, and a new attitude in America. And that's what we're here to look at today. And I hope that each one of you, when you leave here today, you will leave with a renewed vision and a renewed passion to go out and do what you know you need to do. The things that are talked about here today. And you know what? You're going to have a lot of different topics here today, and some of them are going to hit some of you more strongly than others. You're not all going to be excited as I am about energy, though I hope that you will be. I hope that I will light underneath you a new fire, no pun intended, for the topic of energy, because I believe that energy is central Civilizations? Not one of you has read this book? Have any of you heard of this book? Well, a couple of you have heard this book. Okay, well, I'm going to fess up. Until a week and a half ago, I had never heard of this book either. And I have not read this book. In fact, it arrived on my doorstep from Amazon on Thursday evening, and I drove here from Albuquerque on Friday. So I have not read this book, but I did buy it as a nice prop that I could wave around for you today. But I didn't just buy it because I needed a prop. I have a few other props. So I do not have a shortage of props. I did not need to pay $9.99 for this book just to have a prop. But there's a message in this book that I have not read. But there is a message in this book that is important to what I want to talk to you about today. And the message that is in this book, it boils down to where we are in America. And I believe that we are at, as I mentioned, that tipping point in a clash of civilizations. Now let me read to you a line. Well, let me back up a second. I found out about this book because a week and a half ago, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal entitled, "The Clash of Civilizations." And it talked about Islam's journey to the West. Well, that's not what I'm going to talk about to you today, but in this article in the Wall Street Journal, there was this particular line that I want to read to you. And I want to see if you can relate to this line, and you might even want to write this brief half sentence down on the pad of paper that has been given to you there today. It says, "Our civilization is not indestructible. It needs to be actively defended." Would you agree with that? I'm going to read that again for those of you who are writing it down. Our civilization is not indestructible. It needs to be actively defended. Now, I wish I was as brilliant as to come up with that, and that line may be in this book. If I read it, I would know. But that line was definitely in the Wall Street Journal article that I read, and it struck me as a key point. In this book, The Clash of Civilizations, that I have not read, and if you look at the size of the print in this thing, I am probably never going to read it, but it is a good prop, don't you agree? But in this book, the basic premise of this book is, according to the Wall Street Journal article, is that there are several basic civilizations in the world with three main civilizations. The three main civilizations, again, you might want to jot this down if you're taking notes. The three main civilizations are, according to Samuel Huntington, the political scientist who wrote this book in 1996, three main civilizations are Western, which would of course include America, Canada, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, those kind of countries that are kind of similar in viewpoint. Then there is Islam, Muslim is what he calls them, although what I would call Middle Eastern countries. And then there are what they call in the book the Confucian civilization, which I would think of as Asian. Now the key thing that struck me as I read this article based on the material in this book in the Wall Street Journal, the key thing that struck me is it says that the Western civilization is on the decline. And the Muslim, or what I would think of as Middle Eastern, and the Confucian, or what I would think of as Asian, is on the uptick. That concerned me, and as I thought about it, would you agree that Western civilization is on the decline? Well, the others are on the uptick. So I began to look at it about why has this happened? Perhaps from a different viewpoint than he did in this book. In fact, I'm sure from a different viewpoint as he did in this book. And this book was written in 1996, and I would like to think that if he was still alive, Samuel Huntington, if he was writing this book today, that he would include what I'm about to tell you. Because what I propose is that we are in a place where there is a clash of civilizations. Yes. And we are in a place where the Western civilization is in decline, and the Middle Eastern and the Asian civilizations are on an uptick. But why are they? Because I believe there's another civilization that needs to be addressed in this. And I like to think this particular clash of civilizations, in fact, what I've titled in my little presentation for you today, is a clash of civilization, green versus red, white, and blue. And that when you look, as I do